Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode on the Cerebral Cricketer Podcast. Today, we have a very, very special guest on the show. We have Blake Macdonald, a Canberra-born top-order batsman who's earned his way through the system with big runs and big moments, from a standout 177 not out against the West Indies touring side to making an immediate impact on state level, has played for New South Wales and now building with Victoria and the Melbourne Stars. So welcome to the show, Blake.
Hi, Tanzam. Thanks for having me on.
This is actually a very interesting podcast because I actually watched you at the ground at Marvel Stadium last night, and the Stars had a convincing win there, and now I'm interviewing the next day. So it's really cool to sort of talk to you, post victory, especially during the BBL tournament. So congrats on the win, and how does it feel like getting that win in a convincing manner, especially when it's a Melbourne derby as well?
Yeah, it was great to get one back over them in the derby. Another good crowd there last night. Obviously, we just went down at the MCG to them about a week ago. But yeah, and good to get my first win with the Stars as well. I came into the side when they were 4 from 4, and then unfortunately, me coming in's coincided with a few losses. So it's just nice to be in a winning change room last night. But yeah, there's a good feeling around the group, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. I can imagine. Like my brother-in-law, he actually works as in security at Marvel Stadium. So he was telling me how packed the crowd was and how
Yeah.
crazy that atmosphere was. And I was there as well, so I witnessed it in firsthand. So as a player as well, when you see packed out stadiums and you're playing in amongst them, especially compared to maybe a few years ago, maybe you're just playing grade cricket, you're not getting that many crowds, and suddenly you're playing in front of so many people. What's the difference been like? What's that transition been like?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because, yeah, you're right. I've sort of gone from not playing in front of more than a couple of hundred people to some really big crowds, like close to 70,000 at the MCG. There were 42,000 there last night at Marvel, I think. So, I mean, it's really cool. That's sort of why you grow up wanting to play cricket, to play in the big bash and in front of big crowds. So there's plenty of adrenaline there and plenty of nerves as well. I took a pretty simple catch last night, but my heart was going the whole time. But yeah, I guess it's something that only being 4 games in, I'm sort of learning how to deal with and try and make sure that you keep your mind on the task at hand, while still sort of enjoying, I guess, a big crowd and everything that comes along with that.
It's interesting you mentioned adrenaline and also pressure. I can imagine, obviously, like the occasion, that adrenaline is there naturally. But how do you what sort of mechanisms have you put in place to deal with the pressure aspect? Because I can imagine how heightened that is, especially big stakes game in the big moments. Your heart's sort of pumping over simple things as you just mentioned. So how have you been managing and dealing with that pressure side of things?
Probably just in the same way that I would try to in any other match, like whether the pressure comes from the crowd or the game situation or whatever. I guess it's just about falling back on your process, which for me, like, I try and keep it pretty simple. And I know that if my mind's in the right spot when the ball's being delivered, I'll be fine. So it's just about remembering, like, whatever else is going on, that if I can make sure I'm watching the ball and being able to react as best I can, that I'll be okay. And then it's about just having a pretty clear plan that sort of matches the game situation. So yeah, but it's been good to chat to some of the senior guys in the change room as well about, I guess, finding that right spot to be in when you go out there under pressure as well. So yeah, that's sort of what I've been trying to lean on, and I've probably got it right sometimes, and other times not quite right so far. So it's definitely a work in progress, but
So, who are the senior players that you've been chatting to, and what sort of learnings have you taken from them when it comes to dealing with pressure and the occasion and trying to play the best cricket that you can?
yeah, I've probably, like, all the batters in our change room, but especially after the games, you sit back and have a chat with. I had chats with Stoyne, the coach Morsey, just around also how cool it is to play in front of a big crowd, but then, the sort of attitude that you take out there for the game, the sort of tempo that you want to be batting with in T20 cricket. And yeah, just, I guess, finding that right headspace to go out in. But yeah, obviously I mentioned Stoin there, but you try and tap into anything that Maxi's got for you, or obviously we got Harps there at the moment who's on fire. So I'll chat a lot with him as well as someone who's at the top of the order and a right-hander, talking through the different bowlers and the way they'll match up against him and might match up against me as well. So there's plenty of good experience in that change room. So I'm just trying to soak it all in.
I think as well, like you mentioned, Maxwell and Stoinis, and obviously they have a lot of experience playing different tournaments around the world as well. I guess in the case of Maxwell, he's a obviously very different type of batsman. You yourself, you're more, I would say, like, orthodox batsman in that sense as compared to someone like Maxwell. So do you find it difficult sometimes to take advice from certain people when you know that their game is a lot more different to yours, for example?
Yeah, I see what you mean there, and I don't think I'm necessarily going to go out and bat the way that Maxi does. But the way he reads the game and the insights that he has are sort of valuable for everyone. It doesn't mean that I then go out there and try and bat like him, but I can take little things from that, or I can watch the way he lines up some of his shots and sort of learn from that and try and add elements to my game. But yeah, I think anyone that goes out and tries to bat exactly like Glenn Maxwell's probably going to leave themselves a little bit short, because not many guys can do what he does. But yeah, there's still plenty to learn from watching him go about it.
And especially at this stage of, when it comes to knowing your game or understanding your game, because you had a very interesting trajectory towards, playing, especially in Shield cricket or even currently in the BBL. Are you always looking ways to develop specifically with aspects of your batting when it comes to, I don't know, switch hits or sweep shots? I know you play a lot of sweep shots, and that's something we can talk about. Especially, I've noticed, especially in the GSL, actually different conditions, and you're sort of adapting there. Or is that something that you've always honed in, playing a certain way from a young age, and you just trust that game in your current time? But then on top of that, you're just more adjusting to, like we just mentioned, like the pressure and kind of handling that. But then all in all, you sort of trust your base foundation game to be able to, get through any period when it comes to tough moments in Shield cricket or in T20 cricket? Or are you also looking to actively develop aspects of, shot making or different kind of switch hits or whatever it may be, in order to, be the best player you can be?
Yeah, I think when you go out there in a game, you have to sort of have full confidence in any shot that you're going to go and play. But yeah, it probably depends on the time of year. So, before the season really kicks off, I am trying to add elements to my game, and whether that's refining my technique ahead of some red ball stuff to tighten that up, or sort of after the first block of Shield stuff, I was doing a bit of training with the Vic squad, working on some white ball stuff. I wasn't on a big bash list, but it was sort of a good opportunity to work on some of those skills. As you mentioned, like I've played different sweep shots for a number of years, and it's probably something that comes a little bit naturally, having played a little bit of hockey, but then learning from guys like a brief chat with Alex Ross many years ago, and obviously seeing the way that he plays it. There's Scott Edwards down here in Victoria as well, who captains the Netherlands, and he's a really good exponent of different sweep shots. So, I'll try and pick up on the way that those guys that play that shot really well, how they do it, ask them how they do it, and then try and work on that myself. But probably from the white ball perspective, it's been a little bit more about having power in front of the wicket as well. Given that I already play a few of those sweeps, is just being able to access different areas of the ground. So over the last couple of years, I probably had a bit more of an emphasis on being able to hit the ball back over the bowler's head for six, just so I've got, I guess, the whole ground covered. when I need it. So yeah, there's definitely times when you try and add to it, and then a time like this when you're in the middle of the tournament, I'm probably not experimenting too much on trying to pick up new shots, just making sure all the ones that I have in my arsenal are ready to go if I need them in the game, and I've got full confidence in them.
You mentioned Scott Edwards because I've also had a few Netherlands players on the show as well, and we all know that, especially in the Melbourne scene, that he is in around because he's from Melbourne as well. So, have you spent time with him? Because I know that he's known to be a really good exponent of the sweep shot. Is that sort of things that you picked up from his game as well?
Yeah, yeah. We play a few T20 practice matches that he's involved in. He also went over to the GSL in Guyana, so spent a bit of time with him there. And yeah, he's a great fella and really good cricketer. Yeah, just watching the way he goes about it, the way he reads the game, batting through the middle, there's quite a tricky role. And he's played a lot of international cricket now and been really successful. So it's good sort of hearing from his experiences there. And then, yeah, he plays a sweep really well. So, I probably haven't asked him too many questions about it, but just watching the way he plays it, and then I guess myself going and experimenting in the nets and trying to take some of those, I guess, some of the cues that I see with the way that he plays it to try and improve the way that I play the sweep shot as well, is something that I do.
What's interesting, you mentioned, playing in the sort of middle period of the game. And what I've noticed as well for yourself, you bat top order primarily in Shield cricket, and now especially with the Big Bash, you're batting more middle to lower order as well. So that's actually a bit of a unique situation because usually we associate top order batsmen in longer format as being more so like, for example, like Campbell Callaway, bats top order and also bats top order in shorter formats by yourself. You have this different role in that sense. So, and especially even in the GSL, you're opening the batting. So you've kind of batting all over the place, and I guess that kind of player needs to be adjusting all the time because they're batting different periods of the game against different bowlers, and suddenly you might be facing spin when you're coming in. So, how has that experience been like? Like, has there been a lot of things you had to adjust to be able to meet the team's requirements or meet the situation and demands, and try to do the best you can in those moments? Because I can imagine it would be quite a challenge having that
Yeah,
adjustment period all the time. Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a bit of adjustment because, like you said, I've spent most of my time at the top of the order, including in T20 cricket. But I think for me as a player, I want to be really flexible and be able to fill different spots in the order. So to get this opportunity with the Stars, you really can't be picky. And if I pigeonhole myself as just a top order bat, then I might not be playing at the moment. So it's great to take my opportunity there. And I've spent a little bit of time. Like with the Stars Academy up in Darwin, playing some T10s last year as well in Melbourne, where you bat in slightly different situations, maybe through the middle order. So you get a little bit of practice there, which is really good. But yeah, it's still a fairly new role. And I've been chatting with, had a chat with the guy with Stoin around, the right tempo for that role and not coming out and being, I guess, too tentative and just trying to knock the ball around, but also like you've got to have that intent, but your decision making has got to be good still. It doesn't mean you're going out trying to hit every ball for six, but your intent's got to be there as well. So already, just from a couple of games in that role, I've been trying to sort of pick up the best way to play in that role for me and for the team. And yeah, hopefully I continue to get better at it because I think you look around the competition, like middle order batters in is a really can be a really tricky role, but also a really vital role in the competition. So yeah, hopefully I can continue to add some value there for the Stars.
And when it comes to not being too tentative, I think a lot of players have to deal with, trying to make the best decision in the best moment. That can sometimes be difficult because essentially we're not robots, so to speak. We are we have all these emotions and we have this nervousness like we've talked about, and then there's all this pressure as well, and then you're trying to do the best you can, and you don't want to overthink and just try to hit everything, but then you don't want to be too tentative. So there's a lot of things to process, and then you're also trying to stay present, right? So how do you factor all of it in and just try to be present? Do you have any sort of cues that you try to utilize whilst you're on the field? Like, let's just say you come into bat, for the Stars middle period, and you have to put pressure back on, but then the bowler is really on song, and it becomes it's easier said than done. So how would you make the best decision or put yourself in the best frame of mind so that you can make those best decisions at that point in time?
Yeah, it can be really tricky because if, like you said, if you're under that pressure and then the bowler's bowling well, you're fighting with yourself with what you know you should do and sort of just trust your game and trust that the bowler will miss versus going, wow, I'm under pressure. Can I create something here when maybe that's not the best option? So it is really tricky. And I guess hopefully if you've got a partner at the other end who can help you with it, that's always good. They can remind you that, hey, mate, it's okay. They're bowling really well. You'll get your chance. Stay good here. And then, or reminding yourself when you have those thoughts come up to maybe play a filthy slog across the line, just hold, keep reacting to the ball and make good decisions. And, again, it's falling back on your in-game routine to make sure that you're watching the ball, because when you are under pressure and you're a bit flustered, it's very easy to miss out on some of the basic things like that, like watching the ball close when there's all these thoughts going through your head. So, it's definitely tricky, and you definitely don't get it right 100% of the time, but I guess you hope to get it right more often than not, so you come through those moments.
And I might talk about one of those moments as well, especially with recently in the Big Bash, like in your debut, if I'm not mistaken, against Brisbane Heat, you scored 37 not out of 12 balls, which is pretty incredible in such a situation. And unfortunately, it was a very close game. Unfortunately, Stars didn't get the win, but your score did keep the Stars in the game. So being your debut, actually before that game, like when you found out that you're going to debut for the Stars in this season, how did you feel? What was the experience like when you got the call? Like how did you go into that game, and how was the preparation like in the lead up to that particular game?
Yeah, well, I got the call to join the squad when I was just on holiday in Sydney, visiting my girlfriend up there and seeing some friends and family. So it was sort of unexpected, and then flew up to Brisbane and thankfully had a couple of days of training just to sort of get my skills back up to scratch after about a week off. So that was good. And then, got the tap on the shoulder that I'd be playing, which I wasn't really expecting, to be fair. So it was a bit of a nice surprise and really exciting. Managed to, my dad and good friend Simon came up, and then my girlfriend managed to get there as well, which was really nice. It was just really exciting. Pretty much the first time I played in front of a crowd, or a big crowd like that at the Gabba. It was close to a sellout there. It was really cool, and really nerve-wracking as well, sort of sitting there waiting to bat. And then, sort of once I got out in the middle, I think the first ball I faced, I looked really uncoordinated, and I don't think I was quite in the right place for that first ball, and thankfully I didn't get out. And then after that, I kind of clicked into gear and sort of fell back on those processes to watch the ball. And probably the good thing about that adrenaline is it felt like when I did follow my process well, it would almost hyper focus me on the ball. So I guess if I can channel that well, it can make you really sharp. Thankfully after that, I think the Gabba's quite a nice place to bat. Towards the back end of the innings, the ball sort of flies around and the wicket's really good. And thankfully I got a couple out of the middle, and sort of helps give me a little bit of confidence early in my Big Bash career.
And even though you didn't get the win, that must have been, that must have had a lot of confidence, scoring that in your first game as well. So, how did the feelings, or how did the team feel in general after the game, and how did you process that loss, but also that good performance?
Yeah, it's especially like in your first game and when you contribute like that, you really want to win because you want that feeling in the change room to be a really positive one when you go in and you can celebrate it. But yeah, it was an awesome day to make my debut and hit some runs. Despite not getting the win, it was still an incredible experience and just so much fun. And going into the rooms after, like the boys were disappointed to lose a game, felt like we could have won it, and yeah, we just weren't quite good enough. Um, but the good thing through all the losses is the group is really measured and sort of take any learnings that we can, but then move really quickly on to the next task and making sure that we're cherry right for that next game. So, you know, they were they were still able to sort of, I guess, celebrate that debut game with me and give me a pat on the back and say well done and enjoy the experience despite being a little disappointed to not get the result. So yeah, that was sort of the feeling, I guess.
Especially in your role as well, are you preempting to face certain opposition bowlers, and how do you coordinate your training accordingly when it comes to potential matchups you might have? And do you? I'm not sure how it works. Like maybe there's some team analysts that sort of give a bit of a picture for you to, have that sort of template to approach an upcoming game. And for example, if you're more likely to face more spinners, are you working on that more so throughout the week? Like, I'm just curious to understand how you plan before the game when it comes to facing certain opposition on a certain day.
Yeah. We've got an analyst who sort of gives the overview of all the different bowlers, and then you can go and have a chat with him around and Raw's the batting coach around what they're likely to come up with, what plans they're likely to come up with, especially if you're playing on a different ground dimensions as well, just so you can get that in your head. For me, I'm probably just trying to look at all the different bowlers because I think in the different roles that I come in, I could be facing any of them. At the back end, you probably want a little bit of an idea of what their different change ups are like, if they've got different slower balls, just so you have an idea of what they might be able to go to there. And then sort of taking all that information in so you've got it, and then being able to plan around that. And yeah, I guess the same goes for training. Like some of that training will be sort of around starting my innings and batting in the middle order. And then some of it might be trying to do some power hitting at the end if you're trying to find the boundary. So sort of mix it up between that. So you've got that ready to go. And yeah, if you can face some, it's always nice if, I don't know, if you're facing a left arm ortho, if you've got a left arm ortho to bowl at you at training, or throw some left arm spin to you just so you're matching up to that skill and you feel like you're playing that well. So that's something that'll happen. I know when the boys played against New South Wales earlier in the year and Starkey was playing against us, we had anyone that was a left armer in the squad was highly valuable that week on the sidearm, just trying to get that angle right. So things like that definitely come into it. Just trying to line up different angles and different style of bowlers. So
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And I might actually touch on your childhood when it comes in relation to cricket, just to get more of an understanding of what made you get into cricket and make you passionate about cricket in general. And from what I observed as well, it seems like your father played list A cricket for Canberra. So is that true?
mm.
And what role did your dad have when it comes to playing cricket at a young age?
Yeah, he did. He played for the Canberra Comets back in the Mercantile Mutual days. They were in the comp for 2 or 3 years there. So Brad Haddon was a young fella back then playing. Merv Hughes came down and played. So he had a couple of years there, and then he worked for Cricket ACT. He's done a lot of cricket coaching as well. So, yeah, he coached a lot of my teams growing up. He's thrown many a ball to me, and he was sort of my first cricket coach, first batting coach for a long time. So, and I'm sure that motivation to sort of play cricket from an early age was around wanting to be like my dad. So, playing cricket in the backyard and sort of going from there. So, he was certainly the first influence on my cricket for a long time before other coaches came in. And Mum was great for that as well. We played a lot of sport. I've got two younger brothers. They're both really good hockey players, actually. But yeah, Mum would coach our different sporting teams as well, or take us to sport, throw balls at us. So was really lucky there in having two really supportive parents that were able to help my sport, my brother's sport. They're certainly a big part of my successes now, and similarly my two younger brothers' successes with their hockey. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. Speaking of your dad as well, was he very like? I'm just curious to understand what sort of coach he was like, especially when it came to coaching you. Was he very technical heavy, where it comes to like specific aspects of your batting, like if your head's over the ball, if you're playing it late enough, all that kind of stuff, or was it more mental? Like, how did he go about training and coaching you?
Yeah, probably more the technical stuff, if I remember early, and probably on the sterner side. But I think over the years he's probably shifted a little bit more to, like, he'll still pick up on some technical things and offer some advice. Whether it's taken or not might depend on my mood at the time. But yeah, he'll also talk about the strategic part of the game, and what you're looking to do at different times, and how you're looking to build an innings as well. So certainly got both aspects of that from him: the technical, the tactical, and I guess the mental as well. So.
And any sort of particular technical advice that you got from your dad that really changed you or stuck with you to this day that you try to implement consistently?
Uh, Probably the most consistent one growing up is just to play straight and not across the line. I think he had a strong bottom hand, and that was probably what he was always working on. And I've probably got the same, especially after playing a bit of hockey. So it was just about trying not to drag things to the leg side. That's probably what I remember the most. But essentially, he just set up my whole foundation of technique, and right back to how you step towards a ball, front, back foot, elbow up, the way you play a pull shot, all those different things. Like, he sort of set up that foundation for me from when I first started playing. So there's probably nothing specific I remember other than he sort of shaped that whole setup, as he did for many kids that he would have coached in different teams as well. So just all those movement patterns that you've got to get used to as a batter, which don't necessarily come naturally. So
I guess two question would be, a lot of people now, especially in the advent of T20 cricket, they will be playing across the line. That's number one. So how do you make sense of, I guess, playing straight as opposed to now where a lot of people have to play across the line in order to hit the big sixes? And my second point would be also my the conversation around top hand versus bottom hand. Like, a lot of people, I think, when it comes to coaching, overemphasize like having a strong top hand. But obviously, you're mentioning more bottom hand and also talking about hockey. So I'm just curious, like, how do you process both? I guess conversations, because that could be, different people take it in a different way.
yeah, I think coaching's more. I guess you got to know your players, and there's not necessarily one size fits all. I was definitely brought up with, lots of top hand drills, strong top hand, but then there's also room to bring in the bottom hand for different shots as well. And there's different guys that, are a lot more bottom hand dominant, and you wouldn't change that because it makes him a really good player. So I don't know. I think, yeah, you can go across the line in T20 cricket, but it doesn't mean that you can't still play a forward defence. So you just work on both, and you bring those skills out in different scenarios. So yeah, there's a lot of talk around techniques not being as good now with T20 cricket, and yeah, where how much truth is in that? Maybe the truth is somewhere in the middle. A lot of the guys that I'm playing with are still playing a lot of red ball cricket, and yeah, that foundational technique is still really important. And then maybe there's just a wider array of shots that you practice for T20 cricket, and then maybe they get bought out too often in red ball cricket, because once you've got those skills at your disposal, it can be tempting to go to them when maybe the situation doesn't call for it. But yeah, I think it can almost be two different swing planes as well. Red ball cricket is very played on the vertical plane quite often, and then the swing for T20 cricket can be a little bit more horizontal. Even when you're hitting down the ground, you look at some of the best power hitters when they're hitting the ball down the ground. It's not so much a vertical bat punch as it is more of on that horizontal plane. So yeah, that's something that I've been working on as well, as different swings for red ball versus white ball, and yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of conversation around that. Like people say, look, the techniques have decreased. Therefore, look at, I guess the evidence I'll look to is, averages in first class or Sheffield Shield are going down as opposed to, back when it compared to a decade ago. But then people will talk about, but the conditions and the pitches are different. So you can't really compare the two because different variables. So I guess it's an interesting discussion, but personally, talking to different players, you can always tell that there's always been an emphasis on red ball cricket. And I don't even think like the players that play all formats in general do have good techniques. So I don't think it's always a good measure to just be like, there's more T20 cricket, therefore that's why it's decreasing. Whereas a lot of players that only play T20 cricket don't play tests either. So I guess it's a very interesting and nuanced discussion. I know, many players I've spoken to, the conditions in particular have been completely different. And we saw that, I guess, in the Ashes as well. So, you're in the thick of it as well, but I suspect you would be seeing players like honing in on the technique. Like you also mentioned earlier, how during certain periods in the season you're refining your technique. So how does that even look like? Like how does when I guess I assume maybe in preseason you're looking to refine your technique. What does that look like, and what do you do in that situation to refine your technique?
Yeah, probably for me at the start of the season, it was around, I guess, my trigger movement and being able to move into the ball really well. So trying to nail that down and something repeatable that was going to work for me. And then since, I guess, this being my first year on contract with Victoria, I've had a bit more time and access to some guys. So working with Ben Rohrer, batting coach, working with Buck, the head coach. I've spent time with both of those guys, and picked up on some things, some technical things that different guys have different ideas, and there's been some stuff that's been really useful for my red ball game in my defence that hopefully allows me to defend and leave the ball and be able to stay at the crease for longer. And I think I've made some real gains probably for the first time in a few years in that area. So yeah, it's been great to, I guess, have access to some really good coaches to help you in that aspect. So that's sort of what it looks like. And whenever you're doing that, it can take a few hits to sort of get something feeling like it's working. And for me, it probably probably felt like I was building, and right when the start of the season hit, it started feeling quite good. And for that first Shield game that I played in Adelaide, and I got a couple of good starts in those 2 innings. Unfortunately, didn't go on to make any big scores, but that was sort of a first inkling that like, okay, some of this stuff feels like it's working and it's paying off here. So yeah, that was kind of the process that I went through. And then from there, it's more about just refining it, not going back and changing anything in the middle of a big playing block, but just making sure that, it's all refined and working well for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. It definitely sounds like it's paying off, and it helps as well if you're seeing the fruits of it in the game, and gives you that bit of extra confidence as well. And so I didn't even know Ben Rora is the batting coach. Is it for Victoria? Is it?
Yeah, Victoria and the Melbourne Stars. Yeah.
Ah, okay, that's amazing because I'm actually originally from Liverpool, so I think he used to play for Fairfield Liverpool. So I have a
Yeah.
bit of played for New South Wales, all that kind of stuff, and he was actually at my awards night. I think I was under 15s
Yeah.
for Moorebank Cricket Club because that was my original cricket club when I was a youngster, and so he was there.
Oh,
So yeah,
nice.
a lot of memories there with Ben Rora. So yeah, small
Yeah.
world. And
No, he's a
before I lose you
ripper.
on the yeah, he was a great player as well. Underrated, definitely. And before I lose you on, I know you mentioned Brad Haddon because he said that he
Yeah.
played with ACT Comets as well. I have it here with some research. I don't know how many times he played with Brad Haddon, but there was a Toyota second 11 game in the summer of 2016, 2017, where you played with Brad Haddon. So is that correct? And or have you played
Yeah.
with him many times before that?
No, that was the only time I'd played with him. I think he'd not long finished his international career at that stage. He might have still been playing in the Big Bash, and he just came back and sort of was a player, coach slash mentor for a couple of games. We had a really young side uh, back in those days with the Comets, so it was good to have an experienced head like that around and just seeing the way that he went about it. But I sort of remember thinking, wow, he's making this look like two levels below him, which it probably was. He'd just come off playing Test cricket, so um, from memory, he hit 100 in both of those games, or he certainly hit a couple of hundreds in those couple of games he played. So he made it look very easy, and but yeah, it was really cool to play with him, especially when he was still in sort of such great playing form at that point, and you sort of learned, even just seeing, I guess, the belief and the attitude that he goes out with, the way he played the game, was great for some of us young guys that were probably getting a crack at that level potentially before we were really up to it. So we're sort of learning on the fly there and learning how to play 4-day cricket against some really good players from other states that had been doing it a fair bit longer than us.
Yeah, definitely. And so in that game, he scored 114 run a ball first innings, and second innings of that same game, he scored 190 of 222. So back to back centuries in the same match.
That's
And
it.
you didn't do
Yeah.
too badly yourself. You scored 42, so you must have battled with him at some point as well. So it's incredible that you're mentioning like what you learned from him, especially when it comes to self belief. Was there anything else like you probably got time to bat with him that you picked up on that you learned from?
Good question, but it's probably too long ago for me to remember. I'm sure I would have picked up on stuff. And around that time, when I was first starting to play, it was sort of just learning about the ebbs and flows of 4-day cricket and the different plans that the teams will come at you with, which when you first start playing feels like there's an infinite number of plans. And then, once I played a few games, you sort of learn that there's about four or five that they come at you with, depending on the situation of the game. But I can't think of anything specific. It's probably too long ago now, and you pick up so many different pieces of advice, and you sort of incorporate it all into your game. So I'm sure there's things that I have learned that have sort of made me the player that I am today, but I can't really isolate anything specific that I remember.
No, that's fair enough. And circling back to your youth as well, you mentioned hockey a few times. So I wanted to touch on that because I assume you're referring to field hockey. And I
Yeah,
myself, I played field hockey when I was in primary, actually. So I definitely, a lot of people probably don't. It's not as popular in Australia, to be fair, I'd say. But a lot of people that have played hockey who have also played cricket talk about the benefits of, in particular, the sweep shot. I actually suck at the sweep shot, so it doesn't work for me, because especially when I'm playing mostly on syntho anyway. But yeah, so walk us through, your because you mentioned your brothers play hockey too. Like, what got you into hockey, and what sort of aspects of hockey did you pick up that helped you with your cricket as well?
Yeah, well, Dad played hockey as well. Mum played a couple of seasons maybe, but where Dad grew up in Parkes is a bit of a hockey town, so plenty of good hockey players come from there. And that's sort of the way hockey works in Australia a little bit. There's different towns that are quite into it. And to be fair, Canberra's got a good hockey community as well. So, yeah, just again, that was sort of ended up becoming my winter sport there for a while. So, and I guess just the way that you hit the hockey ball, there's probably a little bit more wrist in it, whether you're slapping it or you're hitting it. So I guess just getting elements of that and getting some power from your wrist can really add to the sweep shot or different elements of power hitting as well. So yeah, I suppose even like you play a reverse stick in hockey as well, which can be quite useful for playing the reverse sweep as well. It probably meant that when I first started trying to play a reverse sweep in cricket, it felt like a similar motion to what I played in hockey. So it wasn't like you're learning a whole new movement pattern. So that's probably the thing that's been a little bit helpful, is just making those movements feel like they were already a little bit familiar. But yeah, like I said, yeah, the two younger brothers ended up sort of moving on from cricket and sticking with hockey, and they've both played under 21s for Australia, and both play for the Canberra Chill in the national competition. So yeah, they're both going great with that. So yeah, it's kind of nice to see us all go off and play our different sports and do well. So yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, it's an incredible family to have. Hockey players represent Australia, and yourself playing high level cricket as well. So, were you like growing up? What was it like? Like, was it a very competitive environment, and do you feel like that got the best out of you? Like, I'm just curious about the dynamics within the family as from a young age that you feel helped you become the cricketer you are today.
Yeah, massively competitive. Me being the oldest, I probably had to, you don't want to let one of your younger brothers beat you at anything. But yeah, we're always running around playing some sort of sport, and mum and dad were great at sort of facilitating that for us as well, or having friends over after school. I sort of look back fondly on my time at primary school, where it feels like every afternoon you'd grab a couple of mates, come back into the backyard, you'd have a bit of afternoon tea, go out, play some backyard cricket. We had maybe our backyard must have been during the drought many years ago in Canberra, and our grass was a bit clumpy. So you'd bowl the ball and it'd hit a clump of grass and sort of go off wherever, which wasn't very conducive to it. So I think I got out there in the backyard with a shovel and dug up all the clumps of grass in the shape of a cricket pitch. So our family home still, where mum and dad still live now, just has a big, I guess it's just barren dirt in the shape of a cricket pitch that runs down the middle there. So I'm not sure that's great for the resale value of the place. Might have to lay some new turf down there at some time. But yeah, loved it growing up, playing lots of cricket. So yeah, no doubt that helps. But it was just so much fun as a kid, playing whatever you could and creating different games with mates. So yeah, I hope that the young kids still get to sort of experience that and aren't stuck inside too much on screens of different sorts, without wanting to sound like an old fart. But that was some of the best things about growing up. So
Yeah, that's amazing. And I wanted to also ask you about your education. Like, when it comes to playing cricket at a young age and studying and going to school, how did you balance that? And I know, like, it seems like you also completed Bachelor of Science from the University of Canberra, majoring in psychology. So how do you balance, with your cricket, with the education, and what made you pursue the Bachelor of Science? And do you feel like, you're majoring in psychology? I'm sure that aspect would have helped you with your cricket, and you would have learned a lot that allowed you to become even a better cricketer just from doing the degree alone.
Yeah. My first couple of years, I probably didn't have that balance at all, which, at the time was fine. I did a bit of work. I've worked as a teacher's aide in primary schools from sort of when I finished school for a long period of time, just as it allowed me to keep training lots for cricket while having a job. And then after a few years, that's when I went and studied psychology. So there was definitely an interest there in how it can help me at cricket, but just in life in general. And so that's where the interest came from, and went and studied that. And I'm currently still studying online. So I'm doing sort of the psychology honours equivalent at the moment online. So it can be a tricky balance. I think it was trickier when I wasn't on contract and you're trying to break into being a professional cricketer, but you're not really getting paid at the time. So I'd then also go and have a job, and then you're trying to study. So trying to juggle all those three things, cricket, work, and study, can be quite tricky. Thankfully, along the way, I've had some luck in terms of staying with a mate at his parents' house, where you get some mates' rates on the rent, which helps out. Or I've got a good mate who just came and watched me the other night, Jack, who started a business in Canberra, a disability support service, and that's I ended up working for him and managing that, and then more recently working as a sort of in recruitment for him there. So that's been really handy to have jobs to fall back on when I've needed that money, and trying to balance that work, cricket, study. But yeah, for the most part, it's good to have something else other than cricket to keep your mind occupied when you're away from training. And I think I've certainly gone down plenty of rabbit holes in looking into psychology and how it can really maybe give me an edge in cricket. And I think there's some things that you can draw on there. It's definitely been useful.
I can imagine how stressful that process must be, especially if you're referring to a few years ago. You're trying to break into, state cricket, domestic cricket, and also there was a period where you were in New South Wales and moved to Victoria, which we can also touch on. But then at the same time, you might, I don't know if certain periods you weren't getting paid to play cricket. You're just trying to put up good performances to get into other teams as well. So then you're trying to, keep up with the cost of living, and then you're sort of balancing other things, and then you're also studying at the same time. There's a lot happening there. So how did you manage it? Did you find it stressful, and what sort of what processes, or maybe even things you picked up from your psychology degree, that allowed you to sort of keep persevering? Because it's not like that cricket side is guaranteed, right? Like it's a lot of stress, where that if you wanted to play at a certain level and to get that contract or whatever it may be, like you have to put up certain performances, and that's very stressful in your current, in maybe at that time, that in those current circumstances. So yeah, how did you go about managing all of that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I probably never put too much pressure on myself of like I have to score runs or to get in that to get picked to get in that team, whatever. That was never a mindset that sort of worked for me. I know some guys that can fire them up and focus them. For me, it was always about, I guess, letting go of the result, letting go of the outcome, and just going out there, and what will be will be. And that's sort of the mindset that allows me to free up and hopefully play my best cricket. But at the end of the day, I really can't say it was too stressful. Like the job and the jobs that I've had have been good and not too stressful. And there'll be times with study where deadlines come up or whatever, but they've usually been pretty well balanced, where they're not clashing with cricket too much. So I don't think it's ever been too stressful, and I've had good support from my parents or from friends and family. So that's made things easier for sure. But I guess that's probably the main point, is just that mindset for me of, just going out there and putting my best foot forward, but not putting too much pressure on myself. And yeah, I know you touched on moving to Melbourne, and I moved down here without a contract. And obviously, coming off the season before where I played a few Shield games and played in a one-day final for New South Wales as well. And then you're going and playing for St Kilda down here in Melbourne. But I think it got to the second half of the season and I still hadn't played any second 11 cricket. And you start, I guess, wondering that, it's pretty deep in the season here and I'm probably not quite where I want to be. And then you go on the weekend and you don't make as many runs as you like, and it's 2 weekends away from your next hit. It can, you can start thinking a little bit too much and getting a bit worried about that, which there was certainly a game where that happened. And I was in my head a little bit about that. And it was probably less than a month later that I'd played a second 11 game and scored some runs and I was in the Shield squad. So it turned around really quickly, which is probably one of the lessons I've learned over the years, is you can feel a long way off and then all of a sudden you're playing. And then there's other times when you can feel really close, like you're ready to go. And unfortunately that opportunity doesn't come. And that's just the nature of it. And I think there's a lot of good players around the country that, either get their opportunity and you see them do really well. And for those of us that have played against them, it's not a surprise. For the rest of the public, they're kind of like, where's this guy come from? But sort of everyone within cricketing circles usually is aware and not too surprised that they're going well. And then the flip side of that is there's some really good cricketers that the timing isn't quite right and they don't quite get an opportunity. And you go, well, they might have been a really good domestic cricketer, but that chance just didn't quite come for them. And that's just the nature of it. So much is about timing and taking your chance at the right time. And I guess you just got to keep that in mind and make sure you're ready whenever that chance comes and hopefully make the most of it.
Yeah, definitely. And everyone's roads are very different. So I guess all we can do is trust ourselves and hope for the best and stay present as much as possible and not be too fixated on the results essentially. And speaking of, I guess, you're from Canberra and then you played in New South Wales in the grey systems there, played for New South Wales. And then what made you decide to move to Melbourne? It's interesting you're talking about St Kilda. So I actually work about 5 minutes walk from Junction Oval. So sometimes in my lunch break, I go down and just cross the road and watch a bit of the Sheffield Shield if it happens to be on there. So what made you kind of make that move, and was it daunting? Because I don't know if it was like a risk on your end to take that that leap and try to represent Victoria instead.
Yeah, well, I guess unfortunately I was left out of the New South Wales squad after my 1 year on contract there, and I just sort of thought with some of the people they'd put on the list and the way it was looking and the fact that I'd been left off it, I guess I sort of read into that me staying, I'm going to be a long way off. And from breaking back into that team after having played the season before. So I sort of thought my best opportunity to continue trying to play at that level was to move, and then it was sort of around where I wanted to move, and there are a few different options, and settled on going to Melbourne. So yeah, it's certainly a bit of a risk moving, but I probably, coming from Canberra, you never really have a home state at the moment, given that the Canberra don't have a team in domestic cricket. So I'd already moved to Sydney and I'd done a bit of travel by that point, spent some time in Darwin overseas. So I was a little bit more comfortable with moving around, and it didn't feel like too much of a risk as much as it sort of felt like just what I was absolutely always going to do, because it's been my dream for the longest time to play cricket professionally, and I wasn't sort of about to pack that in. I think I'd be a bit lost if I'd packed that in just to stay in Sydney. So I sort of knew at least I'd still be chasing it down in Melbourne, whether it came off or not. And I probably had the plan to be down there for give it 2 or 3 years to see if it worked out. And it probably happened a fair bit quicker than I expected. Again, just with timing and sort of getting an opportunity at the right time and it working out. So it was pretty fortuitous in that sense. But yeah, it's been a great move. And to be fair, from the start, I think I got there and I went up to Darwin with they send the Renegades and Stars Academy teams up to Darwin, and I went up with them, and all the guys in the squad there were really welcoming right from the start, like starting with Will Sutherland, the captain there, young captain, but sort of went out of his way to say good day to me, make me feel welcome, despite the fact that I wasn't even on the Victorian contract list at that point. So I think that speaks volumes of him as a leader and a young leader within that squad. And I'd say the environment that I've come into in Victoria has felt very welcoming from all the squad members. You've got some more experienced guys there in Pete Hanscom, Marcus Harris, Scott Boland, who are all great fellas and make you feel welcome. And then you've got the younger crowd as well. A guy like Fergus, who I know you've had on, who's nice and charismatic and I guess makes a change room a fun place to be. So that definitely made the move easier. And coming into the team easier. You didn't feel like too much of an outsider.
Yeah, and yeah, I can as well. Like the games that you didn't play in Sheffield Shield, I think I recall like you're still in the squad, especially in the games I saw you at Junction Oval. So you're in around the team and soaking it all in, and I'm sure you're learning a lot from all those kind of players that you mentioned as well. And you're speaking of I assume you're speaking about the top end series in Darwin as well. So I just wanted to ask you a few questions about that. Like, how was that experience like, and because it was a very interesting, because I follow it closely because my background, I'm Bangladeshi, so anytime Bangladesh plays, for example in this case in Australia, I'm just keeping my eye on it, and so that must have been cool, playing different players from around the world, getting it in. I think from America as well, those kind of different players. So did you get time to even talk to other players and learn from them? And what was what was the conditions like in the trainings in the lead up or preparation for that particular tournament?
Yeah, I didn't have too much preparation. I came straight back from Dublin. I did a season over there, which was great in itself. So sort of straight in, but all the teams stay in the one place there. So there's plenty of time to chat with different players. And like you said, it's great having teams from, I think, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal. There was a team from America of sort of different mercenaries that come in. And yeah, it's a really strong competition. And I think if you look at it from, I guess, a Stars perspective at the moment, like we've sort of been saying, like, so I was playing there, Campbell Kellaway, Tom Rogers, Sam Harper. So I guess you've got the current, depending on what the order is for any given game, like we've sort of, one of those games being the top four for the Stars in the Big Bash, and that's what we were doing up in Darwin as well. So I think I guess a pleasing thing for me to see is Tom Rogers and Sam Harper, how well they went in that tournament up there, and they were working on their T20 game essentially for this time of year, so they'd be right to go. That and the T10 tournament in Melbourne, and they sort of dominated that. And then it's great to see the things that they've been working on and been successful with at that level then translate to Big Bash level. Like you got Sam Harper, who's now the leading run scorer, and I'm sure you would have seen watching Tom Rogers last night, like when he's going like that, he's as good a player as anyone in the country. And I guess having watched him in Darwin and in those T10s, and I think everyone that watches him knows that he's got that in him. So it was so pleasing to see him do that last night and get a bit of reward for it. And I think even that the first game of the season that he played, you could see the way he was hitting the ball. I was watching on TV, and the commentators were super impressed at just the way he was moving and striking the ball. So, probably been particularly pleasing for me watching those two guys have success in the Big Bash after the work they've done. And it sort of shows for me that hopefully we'll be back up to Darwin again this year, and that'll give me a chance to go and refine my T20 skills as well, to keep working on my game there, as well as the rest of this Big Bash to keep working on those skills. So, but yeah, in terms of the competition up there in Darwin, I think it's fantastic. Like, really good players. The quality's been getting better and better each year, and the facilities up there are great, especially that time of year where you can't really play cricket anywhere else. It's so handy to have that in Australian cricket. So it's being utilised more and more. And I guess there's a couple of test matches up there this year as well. So it's great.
Yeah, definitely. And I might also track back a year earlier to summer of 2024 to 2025. And this would be around the time you did move to Victoria, to St Kilda. If I'm not mistaken, that same year you also played the Global Super League as well, for
Yeah,
Victoria.
yeah.
So what was that timeline like? Like, did you already move and play for St Kilda, and then later down the line that same season was you playing for Victoria in the GSL?
Yeah. That's how it worked, and again, it sort of came out of the blue. Wasn't too sure about it, but in the end, it was great because there were a few of us there that got an opportunity to play some professional T20 cricket when we hadn't before, and go over and I guess showcase that we had some good skills. And I think no one really gave us a chance over there, and we made the final. We played some really good cricket, but I think if you look from that team, like, we did have Scott Edwards there as well, so a lot of experience there. But then myself, Callum Stowe went over and was one of the best bowlers in the tournament, and that sort of kick-started him. I think everyone knew that he was going to be breaking into Big Bash sooner or later anyway, but it was great to see him have a lot of success and then get his chance in the Big Bash as well. So as a chance to expose ourselves to some really high level cricket in different conditions as well, it was great.
And what sort of conditions did you play for in the lead up to that tournament? Like, because in the West Indies as well, and I noticed because you scored, you had success there as well. You scored a 40 of 29 against the Rangpur Riders, and that's actually when I first caught my eye, to be honest, because I was following Rangpur Riders in that tournament, and then you'd also hit a 59 of 43 against Hampshire as well. It seemed like the conditions were a bit more slow turning wickets, and in that innings in particular, I saw you're playing a lot of reverse sweeps and sweeps as well. So was that the sort of strategy going into this tournament? Because especially against Rangpur Riders, they had like four spinners: Mahdi Hassan, who plays for Bangladesh; Hamid Singh; Rishad Hussain is playing for Hurricanes right now, plays for Bangladesh; and Kushdil Shah as well, who plays for Pakistan. So how did you kind of plan for those kind of conditions, and strategize accordingly?
Yeah. Well, I guess it's hard to replicate those conditions here in Melbourne, but I guess we just got our head around what we were expecting and then had a couple of hits before we started playing. But yeah, I guess it's just about finding what skills that I already had that would be useful, depending on those conditions and the bowlers. And certainly some of those sweep shots and laps were going to be useful, even just in manipulating the field. I had, I guess, the luck of being able to open the batting there as well. So it was definitely the best time to bat, when the ball was harder and still coming on a little bit better. Whereas as the innings went on, it got slower and slower, and spin played more and more of a part. So it was a nice time to bat and sort of take on the power play and score as many runs as you can. And got to bat with Joe Clark there at the top, another guy, Sanjay, who plays in the MLC over in America, who's a really good player. So it was good playing with experienced guys like that. at the other end, which made my job a little bit easier. But yeah, I guess for me against the quicks, it was probably let's use this pace on the ball at the start and the hard ball as much as I can. And when spin comes on in the power play, with them only having two out, it means you've got a few different areas that you can target. And so, yeah, for me, it was definitely about bringing out those sweep shots or, targeting different areas of the ground that they weren't able to protect and making the most of that power play.
When it comes to the power play, you mentioned the sweep shots, especially with only two fielders outside the circle, and they're more unlikely to put in the regions where you do play the sweep shots. Does it become more premeditated to be playing those shots, and or is it something that you try to make that decision when you're picking up the length as early as you can when it comes to the bowler delivering the ball?
The sweep for me is almost always premeditated or pre-planned, and then if it's not quite there, I can choose not to play it and sort of defend it or knock it into a gap, hopefully. But probably only time it isn't premeditated is if the bowler misses down the leg side and I can sort of just catch up with it and go with it. Otherwise, I'm looking for it and looking hopefully to get the right length to play it. So yeah, I don't know. There could be some people that where it's not as premeditated, but I think for the most part, especially the speed that a lot of the spinners bowl at in short form cricket, it's sort of in the back of your head that you're looking for that ball. That's my take on it anyway.
Why I ask the question is because what gets you to that position to be like, okay, I'm going to premeditate the sweep shot on this delivery? Like, what factors have you taken in to make that decision? Because it is, I guess, for players that obviously may not play as regularly the sweep shot, it might be a very high risk shot, and and so to get to that position to be like, okay, on this ball will be the sweep shot. Is it based on purely the field settings? Is it purely just the feel? Is it purely you're predicting the length to be at a similar area where you're expecting to play the sweep shot be easier? Like, what gets you to that position to be like, okay, on this ball, I'm going to premeditate the sweep shot?
Yeah, a combination of lots of factors, like the game situation, how badly you need a boundary, but also the bowler, the field setting, whether it feels like they're going to be an easy bowler to sweep. If they're hitting a pretty consistent length, that's often a good time to play it as well. Whereas if they're bowling lots of different lengths, it's a little bit harder to, I guess, the chances that it's going to be on the right length for you are going to be smaller. So yeah, a combination of sort of all those factors and weighing it up. And I remember Alex Ross sort of, when I was talking to him about it and the way that he plays it, and I'm like, well, are you ever worried that you're playing the ball off your stumps and if you miss it, you're out? And he's kind of like, well, I'm not going to miss it. I'm not planning on missing it. So sort of like, well, the more and more I can work on it, clearly you can get to a point as he got to where you can play that shot with a level of consistency where it's not sort of like a 50-50 shout that you might miss it and get bowled or LBW. So I guess the more you practice it, the more you feel comfortable with it. You're not so concerned about getting hit on the pad or whatever. You're just going to watch the ball close and make sure it hits the middle of the bat on the way through. And I'm certainly not at that level like you saw Alex Ross sweeping, or Scott Edwards. But it's something when I watch those guys play, I'm like, I really should spend more time in the nets working on that because it's such a good skill to have. And I love the way those guys play it.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm going to ask you a question a few years before this. What stuck out, especially when I was looking into sort of your background as well, is that you actually played for, in the summer of 2022 to 2023, played for ACT against West Indies. At the time, you was trying to, you're playing first grade and trying to break into the side. And so now you're playing against West Indies because I think they were having warm-up games in the lead up to the series against Australia. So when you found out and you got the call up and you knew you were going to face such bowlers who are world class, so to speak, because especially at the pace that they bowl at and the experience that they have, What was your going into that match? How did you prepare yourself? Because that game you ended up opening the batting, scoring a whopping 177 not out against 265. So against a world class attack, to be scoring that highly must have also done a word of confidence to you. So I just wanted to unpack what went into that game prior. How did you approach it? Did you feel like it was a step above what you're used to facing, and how did you adjust?
Yeah, I guess like we had a similar squad there to like a second 11 game that we play, or I think it was there were maybe a few more New South Wales guys that came in as well for that, depending on who was available. So it was just sort of prepping like you would for a second 11 game or a Shield game, having a look at their bowlers and the way they sort of bowl and getting an idea of what that'll look like. But yeah, it was a really cool opportunity. And yeah, great to face some of those guys and really, I think I just really knuckled down and I think I used up a lot of mental energy, but I think getting 100 there and getting a big score was certainly important in sort of kick-starting a run where I made a couple more second 1100s before getting a chance to play for New South Wales. So thankfully it was a very flat wicket there. I'm not sure it was maybe the best preparation for them before I don't know if they went and played their first test in Perth after that, but yeah, it was a very flat Phillip oval wicket there. And yeah, thankfully I was able to sort of knuckle down and bat for a long period of time and get a big score.
And in that game, did you feel like you had pressure? Because a lot of players, they might feel like when they happen to get picked for such a game, especially against such a team against a quality attack, it might feel like they have to score in this game to prove themselves to get that opportunity for higher honors or become a regular in a certain team. Like, did you have that pressure on yourself at that time, or did you just try to stay present and treat it ball by ball? Because you did allude to using a lot of mental energy as well in that particular game.
No, I don't think I ever think of it in terms of I need to score runs to prove myself or I need to score runs here to, I don't know, that just doesn't really work for me at all. Sort of, as I said earlier, once I'm thinking about the result or thinking I need 100, I know that I've pretty much already beat myself. So it was really about, nervous at the start of any innings, going out there and probably feeling like, at the start of most innings, you feel like you're not going to score a heap of runs because it takes a long time, but just staying present and doing the right things. And then sort of once you get in a little bit, you go, okay, things are going okay. And maybe from there, that's when you start burning a bit of mental energy, switching on and off. And I think I batted for over a day in total there, which probably would have been the longest I'd ever batted at that stage. So it certainly used a lot of mental energy there. And I was definitely nervous because I wanted to, even when I was on 50, 80, even after 100, I think I was still nervous in the sense of I want to keep scoring more and make it a big one. But yeah, at no point was I sort of like, well, I need to get this amount of runs or that amount of runs. It's nice in hindsight when you've gone out and scored runs and it helps you maybe get selected for a team or whatever. But I'm not sort of going out there before. I think I put enough pressure on myself without adding that extra pressure of needing to score runs for some other sort of outcome.
Because in that same season, I mean, especially in the second 11 side, you scored twin centuries in the same match. You scored 145 of 216 balls, and you scored another 109 of 126 balls. And then you scored 91 of 147 and a 98 of 92. So it seems like on the back of that innings against West Indies, that 177 not out, you went on quite a bit of a run as well, of form as well. So what do you think you did right during that period to get those big scores? Because it seems like those big scores allowed you to get your Sheffield Shield debut as well that same year.
Yeah, it definitely did. And that was probably the first time throughout my journey that I'd started scoring runs really consistently and big runs like that I'd seen other guys do previously to get their chance. And I think it was probably just around being a little bit clearer on my process and not putting having a little bit more consistency there, not putting too much pressure on myself, but and probably just being a bit older. I don't know. I must have been around 24 at that point, which, the older you get as a batter, hopefully you've picked up things along the way and things just started to click a little bit more for me there. But I think it was definitely more mental than anything technical. There was one bit of advice that I heard, maybe Shane Watson did a little podcast there for a while where he was chatting to different guys about the mental side of the game, and he was sort of just talking about how Ricky Ponting just used to say, watch the ball before the bowler would bowl, and how the main purpose of that was just to clear out anything that might have been in his head that shouldn't have been there, and make sure that his mind was either clear or it was thinking about watching the ball. So I tried that, I think, for that West Indies game, and obviously had some success with it. So that was sort of something that I had just put in my head and just made sure that I guess you didn't have the wrong thought at the wrong time. I was sort of blocking that mental space with a positive thought about watching the ball, rather than, who knows, having something else come in like, oh, is he going to bowl me a bouncer, or maybe I want to hit him over his head this ball, or what if I get out, or all these thoughts that are just going to distract me, and I guess take me away from that subconscious state where you're just watching the ball and letting your body react, which is sort of the place that everyone plays their best cricket from. So yeah, that was probably the one bit of advice that I took on that was useful. And then, yeah, just the whole process of my batting was getting a bit more refined, and I was seeing a few more consistent results.
Regarding, because I think it's human, like all cricketers in different levels will experience like thoughts that come into their mind as they're batting that might not be helpful, like, worrying about if they get out, or having to hit it over a certain fielder's head, or, have these kind of thoughts that might not be productive. Like, what's your advice to overcome those thoughts and try to make sure we have the right thoughts in the right moments in order to allow us to perform the best that we can?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is just, it's okay to have those thoughts, and I guess you need to acknowledge them, and I guess recognize that you're having the thought to start with and not get carried away with them, which doesn't always happen. Sometimes you still get carried away with them, but once you've recognized it, you can kind of go, oh, okay, that's fine, and then sort of redirect your mind to what you do want it to be thinking about. And I think that's something that I probably learned over the last few years, is that all the way through in some of my best innings, I'm still having these thoughts that are quite negative or whatever, or, what if I get out, or I want this result, or play this shot, or whatever. But I've been good at recognizing them and going, okay, that's not helpful right now. What do I need to do right now? And redirect myself to that. So I think it's sort of nice knowing that, those thoughts are never going to go away, and everyone's having them, but it's the people that sort of are able to recognize them and redirect the best that are able to have the most success. So yeah, usually when I've scored some runs, I've done that well, and there'll be some times when I'm out early, and hopefully it's just, an execution error, or I've got a good ball, but sometimes I've probably just got carried away with those thoughts, and maybe your head's not quite in the right spot at the right time, and it's taken away from your ability to execute the skill. So that's always the challenge.
And speaking on like those run of form that you had in summer 2022, 2023 as well, that allowed you to have your Shield debut, and then you played against South Australia. When you found out that you were going to make your debut, how did you feel? Did you feel like a relief off your shoulders? Or, I assume obviously you've been working hard over the past few years, especially in grade cricket, in order to get that opportunity. How did you feel that moment when you were told you were going to make your debut? And then in the second innings as well, you scored a 61 off 105 against the likes of Spencer Johnson, Wes Agar, Nathan McAndrews. So, you definitely handled the occasion really well. So, yeah, walk us through that period when you got your debut and how you approached that particular innings as well.
Yeah, just over the moon and really proud. And just one of those moments where, how old was I then? 24, 25, when it sort of gets to a point where you're not sure if it's ever going to happen. So the fact that I was there playing my first class game was just amazing that I got that opportunity. And then you sort of all of a sudden we got sent in, and I was opening the batting, so straight into it. I think I got 20 odd in the first innings, maybe got through the first hour with the ball moving around a bit, so that was pleasing, as much as you want to go on and score a few more than that. And then, I think we were sort of trying to set up a bit of a total in the second innings. So it was kind of nice to play a little bit more freely. I think I had Ryan Hackney at the other end, who made 100, and he was smacking them everywhere. So it was nice for me. Took a lot of the pressure off, and I could they were more worried about him, and I could just go about my business. Obviously nice to get a 50 as well, and sort of feel like you're able to contribute at that level, and you belong there as well. So it was just a really cool moment to make your debut and sort of get to the level which I wasn't too sure was ever going to happen.
And in the next season as well, 2023 to 2024, you made your Marsh One Day Cup debut. And on debut, you scored an 81 off 93 for New South Wales to guide them to victory against Western Australia. So in the lead up to that game, what was your preparation like? And what's interesting in that game as well, you had actually initially had a slow start. You were 9 off 25 at one point. So I can imagine as a batsman, like maybe you felt pressured that you needed to up the run rate, or maybe you were calm because you realized the situation at hand. So I'm just curious because there's a lot of pressure obviously when you're chasing as well, right? So how did you approach that occasion? It's your debut, but then you're trying to chase this target down, which you successfully did.
Yeah, I think I got that chance on the back of I'd been scoring a lot of runs at club level, so it was nice coming in, I guess, in form. But I definitely I would my beans would have been going when I was 9 off 25 or whatever you said. But I think probably it's a really good thing for me if I can get off to a slow start and weather that and not make any rash decisions. And eventually, sort of, if I'm in the right headspace, usually I'll get a ball to hit and I'll start to sort of get into my innings. So that's usually a good thing for me if I'm not trying to take on too many risks early in my innings, and just letting the bowlers come to me a little bit more, and trusting that I'll get away at some stage. And I think from memory, like, I was just moving really well and timing the ball nicely. And I think I'm still a bit filthy. I thought the LBW decision I got there was a little bit harsh. So I would have liked to have been able to go on and make 100 there and see the team over the line. But it was nice in my first game to get a score and contribute to getting a win there. So again, it's just something that gives you confidence early on in your career there that you can perform at that level, which is invaluable.
So when you do approach batting innings, and I suspect that depending on the context and situation of the game, I mean, in this case, we're probably talking about 50 over or longer format. Are you initial period, like when you're facing your first few balls, are you just trying to see what's happening? Are you processing it, or are you actively looking to score runs? Like, what's sort of the mindset at the beginning of your innings, and how do you change that template as the innings goes on? Like, do you feel like, okay, once you get to a point where you feel good, you feel like you have a good feel of the game, and the ball's hitting the middle of your bat, then you're looking to expand your shots? So I'm just curious, like, how you approach your innings from once you sort of start off innings versus when you've faced 20 to 30 balls as well.
Definitely, like, looking to score from ball one, but what that looks like in terms of the array of shots that you're going to play is just going to be smaller. And then, there's probably some unknown time where you face a number of balls and you sort of start to feel like you've got the pace of the wicket, and maybe you can be a little bit more expansive. But Depending if it's a red ball game, it might be something like, well, I'm not going to cover drive on the up early in my innings, but maybe at some point if it's a flat wicket and they've got a bit more of a defensive field, that at some point you do need to start cover driving on the up, and that's a pretty clear decision to go, okay, well, I'm going to start playing that if they put it there. But in terms of white ball cricket, it's probably just more about the tempo that you're playing at and how hard you're looking to hit the ball from a better length. Whereas, if they come full and it's a half volley, you can usually just time it, or anything that's back of a length is quite a reactive sort of shot, whether it's a cut or a pull. So, I guess as you get the pace of the wicket, you also start just moving a little bit better and picking up on those things a bit quicker. So naturally you score a bit quicker as you move better. It's I guess a combination of all of those things.
And as well, there's a specific instance in 2025, 2026 where when you scored your Shield 100 for Victoria against Western Australia, you scored 79 in the first innings and 109 not out in the fourth innings, but there was a period where there was some quick wickets. So in general, like when there are quick wickets, obviously that would maybe change the way you play a certain way. And how do you deal with that? Like, do you try to not think about the fact that the wickets have fallen and try to play a natural game? Or do you, when wickets do fall, do you feel like, okay, I have a sense of responsibility to stick it in this period and then later on kind of expand my game? So in the context of when quick wickets fall, how do you approach a game? And obviously you've done it successfully, specifically when he scored that 100, when he scored 109 not out as well.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a combination of both. You don't want that being a burden on you to the sense where you completely shut down and stop playing freely. But you need to know the game situation. So certainly when we lost a few wickets there, it was sort of like we were in a run chase there where we only had 45 overs. So we're kind of like, we were looking to play some shots, but after losing a couple of quick wickets, we were certainly like, right, well, we're not going to, I guess, raise the risk profile too high here because it's important to build a partnership. So we're certainly aware of that situation and wanting to build a partnership, but that didn't mean that if they bowled me a cut shot that I was going to leave a cut shot alone, or I wanted to be in that space where I could still watch and react and hit any bad balls to the boundary still. So I guess that's just the tactical side of the game. You got to weigh up, and hopefully you do that well, and you're picking sort of the best decision for what the team needs at that time. And that isn't to completely go into my shell, but it's also not to go out and be too rash and really risk getting out and then leaving us in a big hole.
Yeah, definitely. And I know you've been so generous with your time. I want to ask a few questions before we wrap up. But I have so many questions I had to leave out because I know, like, especially in you played under 15, under 17, under 19 carnivals. There's so many questions to ask because you would have played against a lot of players that play, Big Bash and Sheffield Shield right now too. But in terms of honing in specifically on your game as a batsman, more so from strategical or psychological perspective, do you have any particular things that you do outside of the game? Like it could be visualization or I don't know, cold plunges or whatever it may be that you feel like kind of assists your game, during the match that you try to implement consistently?
There's been over the years, like I've tried a number of different things, and I'm certainly someone who probably for a long time was looking for the answer and can I get my routine so finely tuned that I think it was almost a way of trying to run away from that fear of failure. And if I get everything perfect, then all of a sudden I won't fail, which obviously isn't the case. So I probably do less of those things now when they don't feel quite as natural to me. But there's certainly some things that I do. Like I've got a notebook that I carry around and write notes in around any technical, tactical, whatever things that seem to come up or stick with me at any given time. Or I'll review most innings around any technical, tactical, and mental things that I can sort of take from that innings. But yeah, I've tried visualization at different times, and for me, I don't know, but maybe I didn't give it enough of a crack, but it just never quite worked for me. I know it works for some people better than it does for others, and I've tried lots of different things. But I think I just try and keep it pretty simple now, and feel like I'm relaxed going into the game, and not sort of thinking about too much cricket and wasting that energy in the lead up. And then I sort of know that if I've done enough preparation, and I'm not completely unprepared, but I've done the preparation on the team that I'll be facing and the conditions, then I can get out there. And I know that the most important thing, like of all those things that you can do, is that when the bowler's running in, that my mind is clear and I'm just watching the ball and reacting. You can do all of those things, and different things will work for different people. But at the end of the day, all those things are to get you in that mindset where you're completely clear and confident and can watch the ball. So I guess as someone who, read a lot of self-help books as well, and sometimes you're chasing the answer, and sometimes, the best thing is just to keep it simple and watch the ball. So I'll probably try different things in the future as well that might be beneficial, but that's probably my biggest takeaway over the last couple of years is sometimes less is more. And, maybe I don't need to wake up at 6 a.m. and hop in a cold plunge and visualize and drink some sort of tea or whatever. Maybe I just need to get up, have some brekkie, and make sure I'm watching the ball. So, that's not to knock any of those things either, because I know some of those other things can be great and really useful for people. And like I said, I've tried a lot of them as well. So,
When it comes to journaling in particular, and you mentioned Shane Watson a few times, so I'm not sure if you're making reference to, because he has a book called Winning the Inner Battle, and he talks about journaling as well. And I think he talks about the ACT model. So is that something you try to implement in your journaling, if you're aware of that? Or like, how does your journaling look like?
I am aware of that. We actually, when I was at New South Wales, we got to sit down and do some stuff with him, and I did sort of develop, I guess, that ACT model and do some different things with him that I think were really useful for me. Like, I just didn't quite stick with that, and there's some really useful things in there. And I read his book and I was listening to his podcast, and I've picked up on some different things. But I think it's so individual. Everyone sort of comes up with their own individual method that works for them. And again, maybe if I'd stick with it for a bit longer, I'd still be doing it and I'd love it. But I feel like I've come up with my own method that works pretty well. And sometimes I don't know, when you're out of form or whatever, maybe it feels like it isn't working well. But in terms of the journaling that I do, sometimes it'll just be as simple as I've had a net and there's something technical, that a cue that's feeling really good. And I'll just write that cue in so that I can go back and go, if I am out of form or, I'm not hitting the ball as well as I'd like, I can go back and have a look and go, okay, maybe I'm not quite following that cue at the moment, and that'll help me get back into a space. But the way that I've been trying to review the games technically, review the games in general, is sort of technical, tactical, and mental, and just sort of writing down, technically, if everything's fine, there's nothing to write. Otherwise, it might be like, notice that this was happening, might be worth hitting some balls and working on that, going through tactically how I assess the game, and then mentally whether I was sort of present for each ball and they're watching the ball or not. Pretty simple, but then you can you don't have to go, well, okay, I was out for 10 in this game. Is it sort of, do I need to be worried about that? Or no, hang on, I followed all those things. Technically, I was fine. Tactically, made good decisions. Mentally, I was there, just got a good ball. Or maybe one of those things was off and that contributed to the dismissal. So, or even when you score runs, it can be really useful to go, right, I was on today. Tactically, I made some really good decisions at the right time, and mentally, sometimes those innings, it's great to go back and have a look and go, yeah, right, what I was doing that day was really working, and that can help when you're trying to find something as well, or even just remind you that you're capable of it. And when you're not scoring as many runs, so that's sort of the model that I'm going with at the moment, which is it's pretty simple, but it's still, I guess, covering all those bases.
And I think it's normal, like there might be periods where you don't feel as confident. And so it seems like when you don't feel confident, maybe the results haven't been there. It's like that fallback option where you can look at your journals and maybe look at specific moments you felt certain things and then kind of remind yourself. Do you do that process as well when it comes to moments you feel like you're not on top of your game?
Yeah, it's something that I've done, and it's again, I think something Shane Watson mentioned around, like, collecting a bit of a highlights package of yourself of all the times you've done well, or write down. It's great to sort of go when you're feeling like you're not quite up to it, and go back and go, all right, these are all the different things that I've done that prove that I am a good player. If you are doubting yourself, or in a bit of a form slump or whatever it is, so I think that's really handy as well. Whether it's going back and finding what was working, or just reminding yourself that, hang on a second, like there've been a number of times when I've done really well. I've helped my team win games or whatever it is, and just give yourself a bit of confidence again. So yeah, that's something I definitely implemented from chatting with Shane Watson there. So
Yeah, definitely. And I'll just ask maybe two, three quick questions before we wrap up. Growing up, like as a player, who was the most inspirational cricketer that you looked up to?
I think for me, like Ricky Ponting was the guy. Probably first starting to watch around the '05 Ashes, and then the '06, '07 Ashes here. Like, he was the guy batting three, captaining Australia. Um, Probably always wanted to bat three from that point on because of Ricky Ponting. And sometimes you find yourself opening or a four or later in the middle order, but that was sort of growing up. That was the goal. You wanted to bat three for Australia like Ricky Ponting. So that's probably who I first remember idolising.
And in last two questions would be like, who's been the most challenging bowler you've faced, and also in terms of batsmen, who have you shared the dressing room with where you're like maybe a bit of an underrated name? I know you've played alongside many big names, but a more underrated name where you're like, oh wow, like this guy is really good, and try to pick up a few things from him as well.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, what was the first question again?
The most challenging bowler you faced.
Most challenging, most challenging. Um, I think it was my second Shield game against the Vicks at the MCG, and I was facing Scotty, Boland, and Fergus on a tough wicket there, which it has been a tricky wicket at times over the last few years. And I reckon I faced 80 balls in that innings for not many runs, but I just remember thinking, well, if this is Shield cricket, I don't think I'm good enough, because the ball was seaming around all over the place, and I I think they've reminded me that they probably had me out LB two or three times before that, and I was lucky to survive. So that was incredibly challenging. Other than that, I faced Joel Paris a couple of times in Shield games, and he's an incredibly skillful bowler as well. So yeah, I think it was sort of nice to see uh, some of those guys like Brendan Doggett, Michael Nessa get that chance in the tests, and sort of go out and show what quality bowlers that we have just sitting behind those guys. Obviously, Scotty's been doing it for 4 or 5 years now, but there's a bit of chat in the media about where's the depth in Australian cricket, and I'm like, they're right there. They're just tormenting Shield batters, and because of how good Starkey, Hoff, and Cummins have been with Gaz, like a lot of those guys haven't got much of a look in. So it's really good to see those guys get a chance and do really well. Yeah, in terms of batters, I think, well, someone that I loved batting with at St George, and he was always the first to remind me of it, was Nick Stapleton. I think most of my big runs came in partnerships with him. So he was someone who, a really good, and I don't know about underrated, because I think most people in Sydney rate him really highly, but for someone who never got a chance at the next level, he was and still is a great player. Can open the bowling and swing the ball around, and made a lot of runs. So yeah, he was someone I always loved sharing a change room with. Um, and then, geez, in terms of other batters, I mean, you could pick from any number. Uh, in our squad at the moment in Victoria, we're blessed with young talent, and some more experienced talent as well, with Marcus Harris and Pete Hanscom. So watching those guys go about it, who are very clear on the way they're going about the game, like just seeing Pete score a couple of hundreds early in the Shield season, and scoring it against that New South Wales attack that had Hoff, Starkey, and Gaz, was really impressive. And just a guy that is the ultimate professional. He's doing it year round over in the county system as well, and he's a great player, and someone, both those guys are still at the level where they could be playing international cricket. So to have them turning out for the Vicks all the time is great.
Yeah, definitely, and I appreciate your time. You've been so generous with your time, sharing all your thoughts and insights. So thank you so much. I don't know if you had any sort of final words you wanted to share before we wrap up the podcast.
No, not really. Yeah, just thanks for having me on. It's nice to chat and sort of reflect on a few things, and probably work out what my thoughts are, because sometimes it's not until you start chatting about it that you really completely understand them. But no, it's been good. Thanks for having me on.
No, anytime, man. Like I had, like you probably saw the document. I had so many other things I wanted to talk about. Like even like you played with Zach against Zach Crawley in grade cricket. So that's some
Yeah, I
little
saw that. I
interesting.
actually, I actually don't even remember playing against him. Maybe I faintly remember him playing like a back foot punch and going, "This guy is so big and powerful." But that was about it. I played against Ollie Pope, and he made 100 when he was playing for Campbelltown, and I thought, this guy is a serious player. So hopefully he can get another chance, and find some form again, because he's a serious player as well.
Yeah, in that same grade game against Zach Crawley, because that Crawley made 89 not out, you'd made 141 not out. So that's why I'm like, this
Yeah,
that'll be a pretty
okay.
interesting game. But yeah,
There you
but
go. There you go.
it's crazy, yeah. And on top of that, you had so many interesting, like matches with against many players like Jason Sangan, Jack Edwards, all of them at a under 19. So I mean, I don't want to keep you, sort of for like extra 2 hours or so, because we would be going on forever. But no, I appreciate your
Yeah,
time and
yeah.
sharing those insights. And yeah, as I said, it's really cool because I literally watched you last night as well, and got that victory. So no, I appreciate your time. I'll wrap it up there. So for our listeners, thank you for tuning in. So you can check us out. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple iTunes, and we're also on YouTube as well. So subscribe to us there, and we're also on Instagram. We're on TikTok. So make sure to follow, like us, and share our content there. So for our special guest Blake Macdonald, wish you all the best. This is Hans. I'm signing off. Thank you very much.